hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but I did like a deep clean of the house with Scott for like, I haven't deep cleaned a house in maybe even ever. My mom raised us to put money into the economy, always give people work, be grateful, let the money cycle do this. And so we've always had a cleaning lady growing up. And I've never experienced the meditative quality of like what it feels like. Like I'm a pretty, I mean, I don't think I'm like OCD, but I'm a pretty tidy person. Everything has its place. I'm very feng shui. Everything goes away. So I have a very tidy world. But in terms of cleaning, I've always hired someone in gratitude. And so today, in my new partnership, we've hit the 4-month mark, and we clean the house together. And I sort of suggested like we should just hire someone. He's like, oh no, it's so easy. It's like meditative. It's accomplishment. So I got the vacuum, and I'm like sweating. It's like it's hard, and the rugs and all the rest of it. But we divided and conquered. The house is amazing. I finally went around the whole place with what is that? It's not nagchampa incense, but it's that beautiful wood that you burn that smells incredible, and it's like a disinfectant and a cleansing of energies. I can't remember what it's called. Sand something or other. Anyways, the house is amazing. It feels amazing. We have guests coming tonight, his friends, who he climbed the Alps with, and they're staying for the weekend. And it's just like one more step as I integrate into his world. And everybody's new, everybody's wonderful. And I'm just like, oh, it's still a lot for me. It's all new, it's all wonderful, and it's a lot. So we're about to have a feng shui session as well with the same guy that we did our astrocartography with, to really look at, where's the best room for my office. Is it the room I'm in? Is it the guest room? Where, what picture should we hang? Colors, like all the things to make the energy in the house amazing. So basically we're navigating partnership. I think we're doing a fucking amazing job. And I'm really proud of myself for speaking up and letting go. And so as you watch this podcast with two of my dearest friends, I've known Netta for over 20 years, and she's been with Brian for 16. So a wonderful, deep friends of mine who we've been able to put our lanes. She's my general counsel, I'm her coach, and we're friends. And now with Brian, I'm his friend, Sister Allana, Auntie Allana, and also his coach. And to listen to their story of the transformation that has occurred since they've both engaged in deep dives within themselves and couples coaching, and the magnificent breakthroughs, and that they're more in love now than they've ever been since they were married, really speaks to the power of, we never get there, to keep tending and keep growing and keep evolving and stay curious and stay brave. So I think you're really going to enjoy this podcast. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello and welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are, season 11, Soul Medicine. And this month we are talking about intimacy. Into me, I see. And I can't think of two better people than some of my dearest friends and clients. This is Netta and Brian. Netta is an attorney. Brian, peace brother, is a history professor. And why don't we, Netta and I, we've known each other for a couple decades now, right? We've known each other in a personal growth workshop where we met. So why don't we start the conversation on how the two of you met, and to let people know that there's a lot of ways that you find your beloved on this planet. So yeah, Netta, why don't you tell us, honey?
I was going to say, like, he loves to tell people how we met.
Oh, well then Brian, tell me.
Take that away from him. I mean, okay. I could tell the long version of it, which is awesome too.
Well, it feels like yesterday, but we met 16 years ago in what I like to say the old-fashioned way, in a village. I'm joking. We met speed dating.
Speed dating, yes.
speed dating. And it was a crazy event, but
Yeah, there's a whole
it was,
story there, but it was funny when we met. Right before we had met, like a week before we had met, I had gotten to this place in my life of dating and things like that, where I was just like, I'm done. I'm done trying to be something I'm not. I'm done
Yeah.
trying to win a man's love. I'm done with all of that. Like, I'm done. And I got really clear um, that of course I would absolutely want to be with a partner that was my partner, but I was absolutely totally fine never being with a partner and knowing I would have an amazing life. And I had this like moment of clarity. And the time that I had it, I went through my phone, I deleted all the numbers of men that just weren't showing up right. And I basically, without even knowing I was doing it, made this declaration. It felt like to me, to God source energy of like, this is clear for me. And then we met a week later. And I feel like there was just this energetic shift that occurred that allowed him to come in the door and for me to resonate with the energy of safety that he presented at the speed dating event, where it was chaotic and crazy. And with him, I didn't know in that moment, like, this is the man I'm going to marry. I didn't even know in that moment, this is the man I'm going to date. But what I did know was like, this feels good. This feels safe. This man is sexy. And more important than that, even, was this feels really good and safe. And I can be myself. And he is comfortable in that. And I can be sassy and smart and all these things. And he is not intimidated by that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, there was definitely magic afoot when we met.
Yeah.
yeah. And I had been in several relationships, and at the end of the day, there was just something missing, you
Mm.
know. I love the women that I had been with before, but it wasn't, whole mind, body, soul, the whole package. And
Yeah.
from the get-go, we've just been spicy with each other.
Yeah.
I love that. Spicy. I remember the first time I met you, Brian, and we were having a party. I think it was July 4th.
Yeah.
And you referred to her as your goddess. And I'm like, okay, I like him. And then you got out roomy. And I'm like, oh, I really like him.
Mm.
And so yeah, being at your wedding and all these years later and having the kids and all the rest of it. What would you say, Brian first, then Netta? What has been like one of your favorite experiences with Netta? Favorite, it could be tell a story of a certain time, or it's maybe an essence of her, something that really literally brings out the best in you.
There's a zillion of them, but one thing that stands out is that we got involved in a local political issue a few years ago. Don't
I
need to
remember.
details, but it was our city, doing something completely against what was best for the residents. And we kind of stood up together, and I was the kind of spokesperson, and she was the, in-house attorney behind the scenes, crafting our responses to what was happening. And it was just the way we gelled together that was remarkable. And we ended up losing the fight,
Mm.
but winning much more in the long run, in terms of just that realization of what a powerful team we are together,
Mm.
and how we support each other. And it's almost seamless. I mean, it's hard to put into words, but we just our gifts complement so well. I can be very social, and I enjoy meeting people and just sort of being out there.
Yeah.
She enjoys sort of, being out there when she needs to be out there, but not being the face of a lot of things. In this case, it
Got
was
it.
a political thing, and I don't know, it was just that realization. And
Yeah, we have a lot of really beautiful synergy. And we definitely complement each other in a lot of ways. Like as a team,
Mm.
we bounce off of each other and balance each other in some really interesting and special ways. And it's so funny he picked that. I would never have thought of that as the thing, but but
Whoa.
that was definitely, I mean, that was interesting for me to see him step
Yeah.
into his an aspect of his greatness, which is his extraordinary leadership quality and just the trustworthiness of who he is and his ability to create a grassroots movement and to
Mm.
be seen. And now reputationally, like seen in our city is somebody that you trust, that can stand, speak truth to power. And like, so I got to see that side of him, and he's beautiful with his words and his presence. For me, I have legal skills. And so there was this feeling of this call to action for a community that I couldn't have done without him. And I don't know that he would have done without me. Like it was one of these things
Nice.
where I felt like I had listened to the voices of our community and felt like I have a skill to offer. And when I really sat with it and meditated on it, it was like, this is something I need to do. It's not something I want to do. It's something that I need to, I'm feeling this like need to do it. And we were in communication around it. And when I was like, I think this is something I need to do. I'd like to use these skills to support our community. And this was right when we moved in. So we didn't really know that many people, but we had just had this exposure of listening to our new neighbors, and we just felt like, gosh, this is not fair. And my love, what a justice streak I have, right? Like that part of me that says like no. And so my no is loud. And when I came to him, he had already started to gather the names of neighbors, and so his natural ability to create like a grassroots movement was really impressive. And
Wow.
that I wouldn't have been something I would have thought of.
No, I love this. It's an insight into your superpowers and how you have each other's back. And I like this figure eight idea of bringing out the best in each other. And this episode is around intimacy. Into me, I see. And so if we shift into how we coach together, and I just also want to say, Ned, it's been priceless to have you have my back as my general counsel, and the greatest honor to be able to coach you. And then most recently also, Brian, to be able to coach you. I really respect the way we can have these lanes, like we're friends. And then I surrender to your counsel and you surrender to my coaching, and then we're all better together. So it's really, I think, a unique way that we operate together. So thank you first for that. What was it, if we say intimacy, being vulnerable with ourselves, transparent with ourselves, really honest, raw, real with ourselves? If we can't do that with ourselves, we can't do that with each other. And so maybe Netta first and then Brian second. What was it that you wanted for you, Netta, that drew you to requesting my support with coaching? What have some of those transformations or breakthroughs been for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember exactly the point, and you and I have been working together for now easily, I don't know, years.
Yeah, many.
But I remember I was feeling really stuck. Like I had done a lot of, we met in a self-development workshop, right?
Yeah.
Like I've done some real deep soul dives, and I continue to that's one of my passions, is to excavate the parts of me that create a shutdown of my heart, so that I can clear them out, so that I can live in the ways that I want to live, which is with an open heart. And so I had done so much around just tending to my wounded parts, tending to my soul, getting to get more clarity about who I am, what's my purpose, all these things. But I just remember feeling just like I was stuck. And I was really reflecting on, gosh, I want to work with a coach, but I've worked with a coach in the past, and a couple different times, and it's been kind of useless and sort of annoying. I don't want that. But I knew I needed some support, and you and I already at that point had an intimate friendship, and
Yeah.
and I knew that place of safety in the friendship space. And so I reached out and just told you, like, hey, I'm stuck. And can we, as friends, like, is there a way to do this so that we maintain
Yeah.
the friendship, that are able to also have this relationship around coaching? And we crafted, a safe space and agreements and container around that, that's been
Yeah.
so beautifully, you know, even at times like when I started to support you legally, like it's all kind of, we've been in such honest communication about what works, what doesn't, how do we do this? And
Yes.
um it's, I mean, your friendship has been one of the greatest gifts in my life, and your coaching is without question one of the greatest gifts in my life. And both of them, right? Like the friendship piece is priceless and the coaching piece is priceless. And for me, I would say that, at critical points in my life, you have been an anchor and helped me see, like a way shower, helped me see what's true for me. It's not like you're ever telling me like, do it this way, but you helped me see what's true for me around my relationship with myself, my relationship with Brian, my relationship around the work I do. And I've said this to you. I feel like you have been a critical piece of our intimacy and our ability to continue. When you're in a relationship with somebody for a while, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I suspect it is. Life goes up and down, and there's hard moments, and there's things that happen, especially if you're in true intimacy with someone, that make the road murky. And it's like, how do I continue with this? Like, I love this person, but this thing is happening, and like, how do I keep going forward? And you have been such a gift for me, in that, how to speak truth from my heart, how to stay anchored in my heart so that I can then deliver that message that I need to deliver, because for the health of our relationship, for my own personal health, his own personal health, but importantly, that tangent thing that is the relationship. Like, and so you have helped me figure out my boundaries and how to set them in a loving way, but in a way that is true, loving myself, right? Like, not self-sacrificing, but loving myself so that I can love another in partnership. And you've also given me that, guidance and support when I've had to create the same sort of boundaries around work or around other things. And so, those are some of the changes. There's Muffin.
I know, she's matching my outfit tonight, isn't she? She's alive. Yay, Muffin.
Yay, Muffin. A tail just like popped.
I know, right? I'm like, I think I'll just stroke this. No. I think one of the times I fucked up was when I was at your birthday, and I was over at your house, and I wasn't in the right lane. I came over as a friend for your birthday, and then I moved into like coach mode, and I didn't change lanes, and I feel like such a schmuck. And yet there was this moment where I couldn't see straight. All I could see is how much I love you and how much I love you. And I couldn't just override it. And I feel like it was a breakthrough moment for you. And then everything that's unfolded since then, and the blessing of being able to work with Brian, and now all that's unfolded since then, it was a risky moment. Like, I was so scared, but I knew I had to be fierce love is the best way I could kind of say it. And I care about the kids. Like, it was like everybody was on the line. And I risked a friendship. I risked it all. And that's how much I love you guys. And I was, so if we could talk about that and then shift into, and I'd really like people to know how you literally communicated what shifted. And then I said, Brian, let's talk. Let's see if you'd like to do some work together. And then all that's occurred. I think this is so important for couples who have these issues where they don't know how to talk about it. And you, I believe, have done so consciously, so beautifully. And the results are speak volumes.
Yeah. So, are you comfortable getting into specifics?
No. And I'll just say real quick, I mean, for years, I was resistant, working with somebody one-on-one. I was in a couple men's groups, which were good, but never got to the core. I mean, for me, it was binge drinking and, basically being ugly at times with Netta and the boys, for that matter, and never wanting to own up to that. It's not, didn't want to admit that, I was an alcoholic. I had alcohol problems, and
Yeah.
um, and she just gently created, I don't know, the support sort of cocoon that slowly but surely led me to working with you. I was resistant to working with a woman
Sure.
as a coach or as a guide in certain ways. Um, and in retrospect, now I was like, wow, that was dumb. That kind of prejudice that I had.
Mm,
Um, and also I knew you were close friends with Netta, and I just
sure.
thought, wow, this could get too awkward
Weird. Yeah.
and weird, yeah. So, um, but yeah, when she did tell me in very definitive terms that you need to stop drinking, or our marriage is over, right? Or we're done. I mean, there had been incidents for years,
Yeah.
and time would go by, but then I, it's sort of binge drinking is my issue, and um, but she told me, after an incident, last summer, that you need to stop drinking and you need to
Yeah.
really go deep on whatever it is that's causing this,
Yeah.
and that was so true.
Mm,
And then that's what led to me working with you one-on-one,
yeah.
even though I knew you were still working with Netta. And
Right.
I had been on a couple retreats
Yeah. You'd been to
with
2
your
retreats,
group,
right? Mm-hmm.
and always enjoyed that and had these wonderful deep experiences, but it wasn't sustained like
Correct.
I finally started to do with you
Yeah.
not that long ago, in a sustained way. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. The VIP weekends, the private calls, the group
yes,
calls, the community.
yes.
Yeah. The homework I give the 2 of you, all the things.
Yeah.
And, and this is part of a longer pattern where she, in some ways, does know best, not always, but
The feminine.
yeah, the feminine.
The
And,
wisdom of
the
the feminine.
masculine me was for years saying, oh no, I can deal with this on my own. That's the way I
Right.
was raised,
Right.
and don't tell me what to do, sort of thing. I'll do it alone. And that was a big false, narrative that I was telling myself because I
Yeah.
couldn't. And so I'm just really blessed that, and again, the way she presented this was not, it was forceful, but in a very gentle, loving way, which I appreciate.
Thank you.
Had she just said the first time I had an incident, that's it, I'm out, I would have just said, okay,
Right.
bye. And,
Reacted. Yeah.
yeah, reacted instead of responded, which is something we've been working on, or I've
Yeah.
been working on, with your help for a while now. So,
Yeah. And now you actually have the capacity. You can stay in your body. We've integrated the traumas so you can
yeah.
respond more. Yeah. Which is
Yeah, I just understand that behavior, that pattern of mine for years. Like, a lot of it is grief. I lost my mother when I was young,
yeah.
and it was just stuff. I'm Irish Catholic. You just bury stuff, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so Thank you, love.
Yeah, babe.
And thank you, Alana. And it's just remarkable how it all came together, you know.
Yeah, and I actually thank you, my love. I actually want to just track a little bit of going back to that weekend of what lane we're in, right? And
Yeah.
I remember at the time, the drinking had been an issue, and because it was binge drinking, it wasn't like every day. It was just like there were these episodes that, and
Right.
over time, and before you had that come to Jesus conversation with me on my birthday, like you came over to hang with me on my birthday, and I was pretty miserable because there had been an incident,
Right.
and
Yeah.
just a day or so before, and I'm sharing this, and I'm in this place of like I'm trying, like I love them, I don't want the kids, I don't want to leave them, but I this, and you finally were just like you can't, you were very direct about like, well, what's on the other side of this resistance you have to that I'd essentially put myself in a box, like as if I was trapped, as if I was a victim to all these
Right.
things.
Right. And that's what I
And
called
what
you on. Yeah.
you did, you're like, you're just being a victim, and I got super defensive, and there was this tense moment, like you're like, okay, you can't receive this, I'm going to leave, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, like stop. But that moment made me just take a breath and feel into like, ooh, there's this feeling, I can't get past it. And then when I was like, okay, play worst case scenario, what's on the other side of this deep fear of what if it doesn't work, and what if our kids, and I love them, and I found that the world would still turn. Like
Yeah.
what I thought was my worst case scenario was something that we would all survive, right? And so that
Yeah.
was the beginning, I think, of being able to start to explore my own relationship with my boundaries,
Yeah.
so that I could, because the last few years have really been this process of learning what my boundaries are and learning how to set boundaries. And so, by the time we had the conversation of like, this is my line,
Yeah.
when I finally communicated like, this is my line, right? It had come after we had done one of your dyad practices, and one of the questions we had asked was, tell me something. It was something like, tell me something that would cause you to leave the relationship. And
Right.
my
Yeah.
answer to that question had been, well, if I felt like you weren't devoted to me and the kids, like there would be no reason to be in a relationship if you weren't devoted to us. And I remember when the alcohol incident was occurring, I was laying there at night, wide awake, and thinking, this is not devotion. Like this is harmful. This is harmful. It's not physically harmful, and it's not the way what does harmful look like, but it's harmful to my nervous system. It's harmful to our children. They're getting at this age where they can see this behavior,
Yes.
and so that
Yes.
was a big part of it too. It's like, I can't shield this from them anymore.
Yeah.
This is causing harm.
Yeah.
And I realized like, this is not devotion. And this was a line I had like set for myself. And so when we communicated about it, I basically said, and again, we did it in a dyad practice. Like this event had occurred, and it's not like then I like blew up in them. We still were taking care of the safety of our children, so that when we had this communication, it would be away from them, so we could have
Yeah.
an honest communication that wouldn't be potentially harmful to them to just witness or hear.
Yeah.
We set the container of a dyad, which again was part of just to keep the safety of
Yes.
the
And
intimacy,
honor
the sort
and
of
the intimate connection. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
totally. And I think the dyad we did is something around the drinking, like, tell me something that your drinking causes. I don't even remember the exact question. And you had made these these specific questions for us. Um, and I had communicated, and I was very hurt, but I was also very angry, at the time. And but I said to him, I love you. Like, this isn't about a lack of love. Like, I love you, and you're an amazing person. And I'm certain that you could just continue doing exactly what you're doing with alcohol, and there would be a line of women that would want to be with you. I have no question about that. That's not me. Like,
Mm.
I am really clear that
Whoa.
this does not, I do not feel safe. I don't think it's safe for our children. And I can't, when you pick up a drink at this point, I've gotten to the point where just you picking up a drink, I'm anxious. So
Yeah.
my nervous system is deregulated, because I don't know if this will be one of the times when you you binge it or you control it, and then I don't want to be your babysitter or your mom, but then I find myself like doing this dance,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would, and if this is your choice, I respect that, and we will just find a way to unwind our partnership while loving our children. Like it was this conversation of like, I love you, but this is not working for me.
Yeah.
And you obviously are free to choose what you're going to choose, but I'm very clear that
Yeah.
this is not for me. And I didn't vilify him as a terrible person, because he's not. He's extraordinary. But it was
Yeah.
like, this behavior is not working for me, and I can't make you do anything, and I'm not gonna. I
Right.
don't want to. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
make you do anything. I just know for myself, like, this is a hard no. And it took all the things for me to have that clarity. I'd had other people ask at different points, well, what's your line? And I had been like, well, I don't want to lay down an ultimatum, but I didn't even think the conversation we had was an ultimatum. It was
No.
just a conversation of truth of like, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to tell you now, like, I'm real clear on it. And I
Yeah.
said to him at the time too, we'd done this dyad about what would it take. I said, this is not devotion,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he said, I want to be with you. Like, I love you, and I am
Yeah.
going to stop drinking. And I said, we'll see. Like, okay, like, let's see, because
Right.
again, I was just in this place of like, I can't control the behavior. I'm just very clear what my line is.
Yeah.
And
What I love, sweetie, is this commitment to devotion that you had, that you needed in this relationship. This was, Brian, what you began to do, be devoted to yourself.
yeah,
Mhm.
So you could have a relationship of devotion.
Yeah,
And
no, that was the big awakening. I mean, ultimately, um, I mean, the first step for me was the realization of how my binge drinking was really harming her, Netta, and the boys.
yeah,
Um, and I just always sort of downplayed everything, just,
yes,
oh, I'm
deflected.
hungover, it'll pass, and that sort of thing. But then, I mean, the big breakthrough is, yeah, realizing, oh, this is deep inside of me.
Yes,
I
yes,
have to go there and find out what the hell's going on,
yeah,
that's was
yeah,
sort of propelling that kind of behavior. And you know, being with Netta and then just doing the hard work with you
yeah,
finally got me there. I mean,
yeah,
there had been brief moments of realizing, oh yeah, there's this pain, there's this grief, there's this self-loathing, and not feeling worthy individual, as a person,
yes,
blaming myself on some level for my mother's illness and death. I mean, some
yes,
stuff that was packed years
deep.
ago,
Yeah, yeah,
deep down. And so, thank you for gently suggesting, maybe you should work with Allana, you know,
yeah,
and and
yeah.
then and thank God, it's been wonderful. And
Mm,
I'll just say, as a man, and I mentioned this before, I was in my mind, I was like, well, I should work with sort of an elder male, right? But at least for me, it's been so wonderful working with you, because a lot of my wounds are about losing my mother and just
yeah,
you know shutting off from the feminine in many
yeah,
ways, and
yeah.
helped me
Oh, I'm so glad.
just you know heal those wounds, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, thank you. The receiving is feminine energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
and that was something I was resistant to, just in general, like receiving
totally,
advice, receiving love and support. I've always been more the provider, the supporter, the taking care of other people's
Yeah.
needs. And
And
so
not being devoted to you. Yeah.
no,
Well, there
yeah,
was the big block. I'm not a specialist in helping people recover from addictions, but what I'm very good at is facing what's in the way of the flow of life, the flow of love, the flow of power, the flow of freedom. And Netta, that intense conversation, we faced what was on the other side and we felt it. And then when you had the conversation, because you weren't resisting the unknown or a future you didn't want, you weren't resisting him, you were just in your center with your heart open, and you invited him with a very clear boundary. So, and then I always, as long as I've known you, it's never been about the drinking. It's about what's making him drink. What's he avoiding? What's he not feeling? What's he not integrating?
Yeah.
And I remember that first VIP weekend, we got to the darkness in there, and you were intimate. This is a conversation about intimacy. You were able to be intimate with yourself, receive your own truth, feel, and we began the journey of integrating those wounds. And I find it incredible that you're not trying to not drink anymore. Like something's collapsed. This need to abort and not feel is kind of gone.
yeah, no, it's been incredible. I've done periods even before we started working together.
Yeah. It's not like this is the first time you've tried to change things.
But it was always with the thought in the back of my mind, okay, I'm going to do this for a month or for 6 months. Then I'm going to drink again,
Right. Right.
The
Because
case.
the wound was not integrated yet. The trauma was still in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And now
it's
just 1 second.
different now. I was going to say
But-
it's just different now. Like from before when he would not drink.
Right.
It was like a countdown.
Yeah.
It felt
Yeah,
different.
it was
it definitely felt different than
it was like a
used to.
challenge or almost a punishment period in some way.
Sure.
Beating my, okay, I have to do this because of my bad behavior.
Yeah.
For
Shaming yourself, which you were very good at.
exactly. Just
Yeah.
it's the good Catholic upbringing.
But now it seems like a choice, and you've reported that you go to events and it's not hard.
It's been amazing. Yeah, we've been to weddings and big social events, which in the past I would have been, hitting the open bar, big time.
Yeah.
And so that's
Brian, what have the boys said? What's different about dad? Have they said anything?
they've noticed. I mean, they're two boys, but we have for those of you out there listening to this, we have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old boy. So they're at the cusp of puberty and going boys to men. And I've just been so much more connected, on a daily basis, just getting their sense of humor. They like the new daddy, basically. That's what it comes down to. And I like the new me. And so I think, I mean, I'm not only more connected with Netta, I'm also more connected with our two boys. So
Yeah. I love
no,
that.
they feel it. They recognize.
Yeah.
And it's funny, they've gotten into watching The Simpsons in the last few months, and there's characters on there like the town drunk and Mo the bartender, and there's a lot of drinking humor in The Simpsons. And every once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, Daddy kind of did that once, or but that was the old Daddy.
Wow. Wow. I'm so grateful. You're changing the future by who you're being with the boys. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful. I think it's almost in the nick of time because, as Netta said, they're gonna definitely start to notice more as they get older.
Yeah.
I want to be that grounded model for them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Loving masculinity that doesn't need to check out. Through drinking.
Can lean into difficult situations, not react, be there, teach them how they can stay in their body, keep their heart open, feel their feelings, stay present, build resilience, have their own back, all those things. I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah.
I want to circle back because as this was all going down as well, you've had some health challenges. You've also gone through a lot of grief, Netta, with your mom and you're losing your mom and your aunt, etc. Another thing that I was hoping would occur is that the way I saw it was that because there was the unhealed wound of your mother's passing, anytime Netta would be unwell, it would trigger the past. It would trigger your own. So you couldn't be that spacious, masculine presence for her to be resting into her feminine. And she'd have to kind of be the banks of the river and the river for herself. And I'm so curious, Netta, what's it been like to have this different energetic presence? And how has it literally supported your well-being, your central nervous system, but also your vitality, your health?
Yeah. It's, in the beginning, like I said, when he first made the declaration, I was like, we'll see. I, because we had conversations before that I had never created the boundary that I had, right? So
True. Yeah, true.
I said, we'll see. And so now it's been a few months, and what I've noticed is that I think everything is just, it's more peaceful and safe and quiet. Like, I don't have anxiety around us. I don't have anxiety at home. I'm not, monitoring even on an unconscious level, like,
Yes.
what is happening over here? Do I
Yes.
need to manage this, right? Because with the when he stopped, not, it wasn't just the stopping of the drinking, because it wasn't like the drinking was an addiction. The drinking really was this underlying need to escape or numb out, or whatever was driving it. And so he is more just calm and patient in general, right?
Yes.
So with me, with the boys, with life. So things happen, and he doesn't just, like, get angry or lose. Like, he is much more grounded and present. And so what that's created for me is the safety to relax.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to be vigilant in the ways that I was being vigilant, even when it was unconscious vigilance, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
the nervous system being out of whack. And so it does feel like my nervous system has started to really, again, it wasn't immediate, but I feel like my nervous system has slowly but surely been starting to settle into what feels like the new normal, which is this safe place at home with him. And he is so important for my nervous system. Like, he has always been, even with the drinking, right? Like, he's always been my rock, right? Like, he's always been that person that, I have felt, even when I wasn't feeling safe, I felt safe with, right? Like, the love is never a question, and his goodness and the sweetness of his heart, and just his I want to say his integrity. Like, there's this thread that runs through him of just decency, right? Like, he's a decent human being, and that plays out in all the ways. But then the alcohol was almost like it weakened those truths, right?
Yeah.
But now it feels like the truth of who he is can shine through, and then that allows just a softening of my own edges and a relaxation of my own nervous system that I do think has helped with the health issues. Like, I'm still working through them, but I do feel like there's been, to not have to, some of the health stuff is driven by anxiety, right? And stress. And so to not have anxiety around what's happening with my beloved is huge, because it's like, this isn't something that I'm, like, on high alert around. And so I would say it's mattered. And I think that the longer we are able to continue in this way, right, the more that there's space for my nervous system to relax. And we've just, it's allowed for it's allowed for just a deepened intimacy in all the ways between us.
I love this when Brian was sharing about The Simpsons, and they were asking what the 7-year itch is on The Simpsons. And you said something like, well, mom and dad have been together for 2 7-year itches, and we're more in love than ever.
That's
Um,
right.
and so, without obviously going into any sexual positions or details or any of that kind of thing, but like, how tell us more about the deepening of intimacy, because you both have committed to doing the inner work and the couples work, and you've crossed a humongous hurdle that's been there the whole marriage and is now resolved. Like, how is the intimacy deepened?
You want me to answer that?
Well, no, it's been amazing, in all ways, sexually and also just, just checking in with each other, and we both have hectic careers and busy lives and all that stuff, but just the check-ins
Yeah.
we're much better with. And
Yeah.
when she was just talking about her nervous system, there's a song I put on the first mix I made for her. It's an old Woody Guthrie song called Work Song. And it's about how Woody, I'm a man who likes to work. I've plowed 12 fields and, cleared out 12 chicken coops and da da da. But the
Sounds
hard
very sexy.
but the hardest work I've ever done is to ease my worried woman
Oh,
of her
really?
worried mind.
Okay.
And I've played that role, for years now, and then it's only been recently I realized the drinking and where that was coming from
Yeah.
was kind of torpedoing
Mm.
easing my worried woman of her worried mind.
Mm.
And now I feel like, oh, I can really do that now.
Yeah,
So
I think that's fair. I mean, so we've been together 16 years, we've been married 14, more than 14 at this point, but years. And before we had children, the drinking wasn't an issue. We partied together, right? Like it was fine. But like once the children came, so the majority of the marriage, right, like was this situation with the alcohol. And um I think just over time, my tolerance for and willingness to be tolerant, like it started to really impact my nervous system the longer it went on. So
Yeah.
as I got clearer about like, this is about, as I was trying to figure out and set my boundaries, the more I got clearer on my boundaries, the more it started to really impact my nervous system. And so, yeah, I mean, there was, and then when we were on the outs, when there was an episode and we were on the outs, it would impact everything, right? Because and then there would be this time of rebuilding trust and then having the trust break down and rebuilding trust and having the trust break down. And this had been happening in a cyclical way. And so while the love was always there, there was also this thing that was like chipping away at that trust and that safety. And so I mean, once once he had stopped drinking, and then I think had gone to his second VIP weekend with you and had come back and really started to kind of like excavate some of the things that were there.
Yeah.
I just, I, I've so much, I'm so proud of him, right? Like it is a deep act of self-love and self-courage to like go there, so many of us just don't. And again, it was never a guarantee. It was always like, this is what I would love to see, but obviously he's going to do what he's going to do. And so seeing him love himself just made him sexier to me, right? Like more attractive. And then having him be patient with me and the boys and with life, like the more that he was doing the things he was doing, the more like I always could see just the greatness of this beautiful man. But like the more that he was doing, not just the not drinking, but the work that the devotion he was showing to himself, more his greatness shown, and the more attractive and he became. Yeah, so I would say the intimacy, physical has, just been, it's always been great in different ways, but like it's just deepened, like the safety of that space. And when intimacy is deepened in the physical space, then you can just like be more free and let go and be together in a deeper way. And then just, again, just, you know, this, right? Like just being together, right? It doesn't, coming home to him and the boys, and just having him be this wonderful rock, this, you know, stand for our family and for the world. Like it just, I think that, we have been able to be just more honest with each other. Um, there aren't, yeah, we're in truth with each other in a deeper way than we were before, which is amazing, right? Like, because you're not trying to not say something because you're worried about something. It's like, and there's not holding on to like some frustration, waiting for the moment to say the thing, which had happened in the past. It was like, we're just more real with each other.
Real, connected,
In the
present.
day-to-day, present, connected, you know, and in love. Like I've always been in love, but there's this like, there's a sweetness to it that is really special, you know. Um, and again, I think all of that rises from the place of safety. And so, you know, the safer I have felt, the more I have been able to just breathe into like him and relax myself. Because yeah, I have some anxiety programming right from my childhood. And so, um, you know, it's been amazing to not have to have that alertness at home.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so pleased. I know it will support, obviously, the intimacy, but your health and well-being, the energy in the home. I remember our last VIP, you're like, gotta call Netta. I just gotta tell her how much I love her. I'm like, all right, that's fine. We'll take a pause. Let's do that. And just to hear the two of you has just been so delightful. And the contribution you are to the community, showing the transformation that's occurred in each of you individually and together is such an inspiration for those who are single, who don't, you know, maybe given up on love, or those in relationship who might be settling and they're like, no, you can go deeper, you can grow closer. So we could talk forever, and I love how we do. And but I want to honor your time. In conclusion, maybe Brian, you could complete with why did you say yes, and what would you say to a couple or gentlemen that are not necessarily facing an issue around drinking, but like they're pushing away what they know they need to address, but they're scared, they're uncertain, they're avoiding, whatever it is. What would your wisdom be?
I would just say take the first step of looking in the mirror. I mean, I you know, have a healthy ego, and you know, surface level, oh, I loved myself, and you know, and no, I'm confident and all that kind of stuff. But deep down, I was really broken, and you know, it manifested for me in terms of binge drinking. But you're right, it could have been anything.
Manifested in anything, yeah.
So just try to take a step back, and you know, if it's about your beloved, the woman you're with, the person you're with, just realize, wow, you know, you're with that person for, you know, reasons, and then it's easy to walk away, especially this day and age. You know, a lot of people get frustrated with their partner and say, all right, F it, you know, just move on.
Yeah.
But if you work through it, and the reward is just unbelievable, you know, it's not a joke. I feel more in love with her now than ever, and we've always been in love.
Yeah.
So we've been blessed from the get-go. But so, you know, obviously I recommend working with you. That was sort of got me over the hump, and able to get down to the core of my issues. Our VIP weekends and the inner circle, and the retreats, which we're going to, and
So
can't
excited.
wait for the springtime and Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
So I guess in short, to other dudes out there, just recognize that you do need support, and you can't do it all alone when it comes
Mm,
to going down and healing the wounds that are
yeah.
in all of us, And so,
Mm, thank
uh, and I would recommend you, Alana, but also, there are, other forms of support as well. But just stop trying to be the lone wolf and think you've got it all figured out. Because in
you.
my experience, I didn't, and I don't think anybody does on their own.
I don't. I have my coaches too. Yeah, I'm no better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And I love that this ability to be in your body and the traumas that have been integrated, you can receive the moment. You don't react. You can also receive her love.
Oh
You can
yeah.
also receive divine miracles. You can receive, like,
Mm.
you're just, and
I
that's
was
feminine
feeling it
energy.
as she was just speaking a few minutes ago. Like, oh, I love her.
And there has been a tangible difference. Like I'm so glad you said receive, because he couldn't really receive my love before. He would
Yes,
deflect it and
I
like,
know.
just, and so it didn't, there was a block to intimacy, and
Correct.
we've
Correct.
always been in love. So it wasn't like there
Yep.
was a loving relationship. We've always had the blessing of, I think, this karmic connection. Like clearly we dance this way to, for reasons, right?
Yep.
But there was this inability on his part to allow for certain things to penetrate, which then made it so there was a wall between us.
Yeah.
And as he started to learn working with you, like, and sort of unrooting his traumas, um, once he started to do that work,
Yeah.
he changed,
Yes.
like his ability to receive changed, his self-love changed. And as he was doing the work, my love and admiration only deepened and grew. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, this man loves himself. How can I
Yeah.
not just continue to like fall more and more deeply in love with him?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's amazing. It's amazing, like, what we don't know until we are there. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have said there wasn't intimacy. There was always intimacy.
Correct.
There was this like
Yeah.
this wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you, my love, had your subconscious, not your conscious mind, but Brian, your subconscious had decided your mom's death was your fault
Yeah.
and you were bad and wrong and not
That's blaming my
deserving.
father as well, right? So,
True. And you've had a big breakthrough with your dad,
um,
your health and well-being, you're out hiking in nature, you're cleaning up the office, you have a new men's group, a book club. Like, there's a lot of things that have happened, right? But when you forgave yourself and you could come home to you and receive you, then you can receive her love. And just to watch this blossom all over your world is beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, and just one more thing about working with you and
Mm,
the many weekends. I mean, that was something for years I wouldn't allow myself, is to just go away for a long weekend and just
right.
work on me. It was,
Yeah.
oh, I can't, too much to do,
Right.
can't leave Ned and the boy. But what a blessing to finally say, no, I need to do this. And she's been so supportive, which,
And he'd always been supportive of me doing my work. So I've
yeah,
always
Right.
been doing my work. Like the whole time
right.
we've been in relationship, like as I said at the beginning of our conversation, like I've always been interested in excavating the darkness. And so like I've always been doing my life. He's created space for that, but then he hasn't allowed for the reciprocal space for himself when I've said, go do this. No, there's been a lot of resistance. And I guess one of the biggest takeaways I would say, I think your question had been to him, like, what would you say to men? I would say to men or women or any person, like, do the work. Like,
Yeah.
work on, like, the way in my mind to create the deepest intimacy with a partner is to create the deepest intimacy with yourself. Like, the more you
Yeah.
create the deep intimacy with yourself, then you have the capacity to be in intimacy with another
Totally.
intimate partner, any person. And so if you're not working on yourself, like, there's only so far that you're able to deep dive, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so when he started to really take agency for, responsibility for this important piece, it just, like, it opened up a whole new portal of
Yeah.
deepening. And so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I feel compelled to ask one last question to you, Netta. You've been so lovely, introducing like referrals to me, etc. And I'm not the cheapest chick on the block. I'm not your average therapist, and we all know that cognitive behavioral therapy has, what is the stats, like 17 to 24% effectiveness that decreases over time, because the top of the iceberg is not where the issue is. It's this deeper subconscious work that I've trained so long in. And so I'm not your average therapist that you just come by for a couple of sessions. You know, you work with me for a year. There's VIP, there's private, there's group, there's retreats, there's a lot. And obviously you both do well, and you're an attorney, you're a professor, etc. But I believe the return on investment, if we just looked at the finances, if you two were to divorce, heaven forbid if anything would have happened to the kids around a drinking incident, right? Over time, to me, it's priceless. But I'm me. What would you say in the market? You've done
Yeah,
personal,
I mean,
etc.
I'm very familiar with the market because, I've been working on myself, like I said, that's how we met. So
Yeah,
easily
20
more than
years. Yeah.
decades. I mean, you're worth every penny. Like there's no question. Is it an investment? Absolutely, it's an
Yeah.
investment. Does it always, like, do I have to take a breath every time we make a payment? I do. Anytime I make any payment, right? For anything that's sizable, I'm like, oh, but it's never with any regret. It's never with any sort of like buyer's remorse. None of that. It's the opposite. It's that this is an investment in myself. This is an act of deep love for myself, for him, for our relationship, for our children.
Yeah.
It is one of the greatest investments, I feel like, for my life. And when I can look at and there's a reason I refer people to you, right? Because I have an intimate experience of the effectiveness of what you offer. And it's you're this amazing combination of just so knowledgeable in all these different modalities of healing, coupled with this deep intuitive knowing and connection with source and spirit that's just so profound. The two together, melded together, allows for like this incredibly deep work. And this is in the safest of safe containers of no judgment and just deep love and fierce love and devotion. And yeah, I feel like, there's things that have happened in my life where there are different events that have occurred in my life where I say, there's no question I'm held by the angels, grace, spirit, etc., because this happened or this happened or this happened. And I feel like meeting you was one of those things for me, And so when I look at my life, like I don't know. I mean, because we can't know we don't know. But what I do know is that you have been such a key part of my growth and evolution into the person I choose to be. So I am in choice in how I operate in the world. And the only way I can do that is by excavating those unconscious parts, by healing my wounded child, by finding those little like closed parts of me that I can then loosen and open. And so yeah, I think I know, I would say yes, always. And that's why I refer people to you. Like I only refer, people to things people or services or that I truly believe in, and you are that. And I've trusted you with like the most important relationship in my life, and there's a reason for that, because I know how effective you are working with you is, right? Like I know this. And so, yeah.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you, for the universe colliding us, our souls together. I'm so grateful for you allowing me to work with your beloved. Thank you for trusting me. And I keep you guys, just like we keep lawyers in lanes and friends in lanes and coaches in lanes. I keep you in one lane. I don't share what happens with each of you.
It's beautiful.
Super safe with both of you. And thank you. You, Netta, have believed in me when I forgot. You've encouraged me to show up for myself and be a stand when I was not wanting to. So you've totally had my back too. I love you, and I wouldn't be who I am without you having my back all these years. So thank you so much. And you, Brian, from the very first day reading that friggin' Rumi poem, and I'm like, okay, he's a keeper. To always calling me like Sister Allana, and reminding me what the noble masculine is and the brave masculine who does the work. And now finally at 53, I finally, after all these relationships you watched me go through, all the carnage, and not judged me, that I finally found the love of my life. Thank you both for, for showing me what a healthy, conscious relationship, a real intimate relationship, a vulnerable, transparent, honest relationship looks like. You're my inspiration. I love you so much. Thank you for being on this podcast and sharing with the world what's possible. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, as Netta said, you're a gift, and you have such a rare ability to help people go to the deepest, darkest places. And for me, you were hidden in plain sight for years. You're working with Netta, and I had no idea I should be working with Allana. So
all in divine time. Yeah, all in divine time. Well, thank you. And viewers and listeners, I'm sure there were many moments in this conversation that awoke something in you. And I'm going to ask you just to take 5 minutes after you finish watching or listening to this, go out in nature, put your feet on the ground, listen to your heart, and let whatever they've said inspire some action, whether it's to call me directly, whether it's to receive support from someone else, whether it's to slow down and feel, whether it's to have those intimate conversations that they speak of that they had with each other. Allow this conversation to impact you in the deepest of ways, because we showed up today for you as a gift to your greatest life in relationships and intimacy. So thank you both. Thank you for letting me love the shit out of you for all these years. I adore you. I adore you.
Thank you for inviting us to have this conversation. It was fun.
Good. I'm glad you had fun. Was it good for you? It was good for me.
okay, good.
All right. Until next time, all my love.
Bye.
See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life.
So we have guests right now, and I'm having a little alone time on the front porch, really thinking back to these highlights of these last couple days with these beautiful guests that Scott met hiking the Alps. They're from all over. They're from London, Chicago, Mississippi, locally here in Charleston. And I was making my famous pancakes in my mother's grill that she used to make pancakes for me when I was a little girl. It still works. Can you imagine? Makes the best pancakes. My son used to say, you know, it's the best pancake griddle on the planet. I'm telling them what I'd gone through in the last couple of years, and all of the healing that led me to Scott. And they were moved. They were actually teared up. The bravery it took to keep going, and the depth of love that we share. And they're young, and it was beautiful to give them that sense of a hope and resilience that when it's just easy to give up, just swipe left, right? But to have the bravery to let go of a relationship that was good but not great for Scott, and obviously for me to stand up for myself in court with criminal assault. So very different situations, but at the root, neither of us were home with ourselves or in our partnerships, and now we're home with ourselves and with each other. And to share that with this young couple was really magical. The second thing was that during this time together, my cat, who's just getting to know dogs, has her little sanctuary in the guest room, but the guests were staying in the guest room, so she was scared. And people and dogs and no sanctuary and where to go, and Scott, and he was bleeding, and I felt embarrassed, humiliated, awful for her, a situation of not having the sanctuary. She's 18. For Scott, bleeding And it was a wonderful experience, difficult, but wonderful experience for me to realize that he senses me, he gets me, he came up to me and he held me and he just did forehead to forehead. And I'm learning for the first time in my life how to be deeply uncomfortable, stay heart connected, ask for what I need, receive compassion. And even though he's like, honey, it's not your fault, I just needed to apologize. I said, I'm just so sorry. And just have him get me and just say, I receive your apology, thank you. And something inside of me just rested. And it took me a couple hours till I finally came back, I think, into my body and was fully present with the group. And I'm so grateful to navigate these things with him. And I'm so grateful you got to watch this incredible podcast with Netta and Brian, who have been navigating this for, a decade and a half. And look, they're more in love than ever. And how grateful I am that I can be human and vulnerable and masterful and credible as a coach. And that's all of us. We all need help. We all can ask for help, and we can all stand in our glory and give our magnificent gifts to this planet. We need not hide either, I guess we could say, side of the heart, right? We just keep our hearts open with gratitude and appreciation, and also with compassion and tenderness for ourselves. Thank you for being with us on another episode of Intimate Conversations. I love you, and thanks for the blessing of loving the shit out of you.